Hey folks. So in this demo, we're going to talk about some complex artifacts which you can produce through Tezu's Hercules. And a test case is about interacting with a tool, understanding the data, which is the output of the tool, and then trying to feed the data in another test case in flow and then produce some new artifact. Very meta. Let me try to give a simple example. So my idea here is that I will use a users API, a generic API, which can return me some sets of users. Get the user from there. The first user, I want to create a lead for that user inside my demo setup of Salesforce. So the flow something will be something like this. Log into Salesforce, go to the new lead creation uh, place. At that time, do that API call, get all the list of users. From that, select the first one, and then create a lead out of it. In this, we are trying to demonstrate that how I can use a call API endpoint tool, which I'm going to develop with you right now, and how I can access that tool through my agent during the testing process. Now, imagination is only your limit here. You can actually try to build tools which can even push the data outside. You can even try to build tools which can do SQL query or some other kind of data query, or even you can try to build a tool which compares two tools output as well. But all aside, let's start with a simple example, which I just now explained you. So let's jump into how my test case looks like. So my project base is right now OPT folder in my current working directory. So I will just go to opt/input/test feature. This is my test case, which I'm trying to run, which says that let me create a new lead using API sources and validate creation. Given I'm logged into Salesforce, obviously, go to the leads, go to my app launcher, and then go and fetch the user API, and then do fetch of the first, select the first record, and then based on that, create the lead, save the lead, and then go and find it out whether the lead is properly created or not. So there is a validation part as well, there is an automation part as well, there is a API call as well. But I'm not going to write any code apart from assigning this agent a tool which not only can be used for this test case, but for all the test case whenever agent needs to fetch any data from an API source. Okay, so there are again some questions here that how I'm getting Salesforce login and how I'm getting how I'm representing users API which I have to call. So that all is there in the test data. I'll quickly show that as well. So test data is inside test data, test data. As you can see, user API URL has been mentioned here. I can show you also what it means. So let me just quickly click on this. As you can see that it's returning some users. This is just a dummy API, but it's pretty good data source for us to play around with it. Second thing is that SF URL, basically where we're going to do the login, and then password username. Okay. Now we have seen the test data file as well. Let's think about how we can build a new tool. So the new tool is simple. I need someone to pass that URL which we saw it in the test data to an HTTP call and then do HTTP call, get the response from there, convert it into JSON in a structured format, and then give it to the agent. This simple process has to be executed. And for that, we can write a simple httpx.get and then get the result out of it. This tool is obviously has to be written in Python. So let me pull out a tool which I have already written and we can go through it and walk through it that what is happening around it. So I will open it in a slightly more sophisticated editor so that we can understand the syntax highlighting. Now this is a tool. To build any new tool, you have to do these few things. You have to first of all make sure that you have imported tool the decorator from the tool registry package inside the test Hercules. This is again mentioned inside the README file as well. Then we go to that you can import logger if you want to do it, if in case you want to do some kind of logging during the tooling. But if you don't want, then don't import it. REST HTTPX, I am using it to do get call, and typing, which is from the typing I'm using annotated, which is very important right now because from this way only the agent knows how to use this particular tool. So now let's jump into it on the walkthrough part. As you can see that I've named my tool as read resource HTTP from API. Simple name, very self-explanatory. Now, during on that, I am taking a URL as an input on which I have to do the HTTP call. I'm taking some headers also as an input because maybe some URLs might need headers as well in the HTTP call. If there is a auth, then I'm taking auth as well, considering that it's a basic auth. If there is a token-based auth, JWT, I'm taking a token parameter as well. And then if there are parameters which has to be passed in the get call or in the API call, I am passing that as well. Now, as you can see, all of them are optional apart from URL. So if the agent feels like that there is a requirement of sending headers, auth, token, and params. Basically, if they are provided in test data, agent will definitely be sending these. But if they are not, then agent will not send it and directly try to call this particular tool with this given URL, which is mentioned in the test data. As you can see that I've annotated all the parameters with some helper string stating that what is the use of this particular parameter. So it says that the API endpoint URL for reading the resources. Now, based on this only, the agent can understand how to use this particular thing. What should I fill it in URL? The variable name is not that sufficient, although it knows what is the variable name, but it is still easier if you provide better annotation. So now after that you have provided, you should see that even the return type also has to be mentioned, and what this return type means in the plain English also has to be explained. Again, this will be important for the agent to understand that, okay, this is what should I expect from this particular tool. So this is the definition of the particular tool, how we should at least build it. You can change, introduce new parameters, remove parameter, but you should make sure that you have a proper return type and proper parameters available. Now over that, you can see that this particular the tool which we have created is actually wrapped around another decorator. Now this decorator helps me or helps my agent to understand that within the agent there are sub agents which takes the responsibility of doing different activities. So the one agent decides that I have to know this particular information, and the other agents decide that I will resolve this information for you, and hence both of them should know one common contract. That common contract is defined here. Hence, the description is extremely important, and you should define it in plain English what you are expecting this particular tool to do. So as I have mentioned, only when instruction says call an API to read the entities from the remote system, then use this tool. Simple. Okay. So till this point, all is English, annotation, and documentation. After this, it's just a general Python function, which is doing very simple thing, assuming that URL is being passed, authorization is passed, and blah, blah, blah. We are just doing a normal HTTP async client request, and then making sure that whatever response is coming, convert to JSON and return it. That's it. That's the simple definition of the tool which I'm trying to build, which is just going to do an API call based on whatever test data is being passed by the agent. Okay. Cool. So now we have a settling ground on how to build a particular tool. Let's see how to attach a tool to the agent. As in the documentation we have mentioned, let me go to the documentation, that you can attach a tool, and the preferred way is to use additional two directories environment variable to point it. So let's put this particular agent, which we have built it from here, as like the name is API tool, the module name, inside that particular folder. So I have already put that particular API tool inside the additional tools folder, as we can see. Now we just have to do one thing, is to pass export additional tool directories equal to additional tools, as this is also mentioned here in this particular section. Now let's do that. Now we have exported the environment variable. Now the next case comes into is that now this tool should be attached, but it will attach dynamically because you have not made it available inside the base code of the agent. So this tool is going to attach dynamically. The agent will look into this particular environment variable, try to find it out. Whatever are the Python modules which are available on this path has to be imported. Keeping that now in the mind, let's try to run this particular test case and see. So we'll do test Zeus Jesus Hercules project base equal to OPT. This is the same old example which we were trying to do. Let's run it. Now the complex execution will begin. It will try to open browser. As I said, it will try to log into Salesforce. Salesforce DOM is slightly complicated, so it will take some time to navigate through it. So we have to stick tight and understand that what is happening. After the login, it will go to the app launcher. You can see that at the background, there are a lot of instructions being getting streamed. It's all what those two sub-agents which I talked about are talking to each other and trying to take the decisions. And now they have reached to the leads page. Now it has to go and click on the new button as it has to create a new lead. Let's wait for it to click on the new lead. Yep, the form is up. At this point, it has to go and call the API because that's what we have asked him to do. So it will call the API. The agent at the back end in the logs, you can see that it is calling the API. And then it will use the tools, the tool which we have is, and it has got the data and it is now trying to fill that information. All this information, we have got it from where? The API call which I showed you earlier. It will create all the data and do the save. Now it has arrived and said that the lead has been created. It will go and validate this lead with the data which has been fetched and try to confirm that all data has been fed in the lead or not. Yes, so now the test case is completed, the execution is completed, and we can see that the test case has even been passed, and it clearly says that expected result, the lead details page should display first, and this all things. And the actual result is that the lead detail, all information is accurately available. And that's how we can confidently say that our tool has been used, the data has been fetched, and after fetching the data, it has been massaged and passed to the form. The form is successfully saved and even validated. This is one of the complicated flow which we can generate, and only sky is the limit. You can build more and more integrations beyond this. Let's quickly see the output file as well. If I click on the output file, it took 83 seconds to execute that, and this is green right now. That's it. Thank you.